Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of The Expendable Show. I'm your host, The Expendable. So, considering like 400 people watched my last show, I'm going to lay out the ground rules just in case some other newbies jump in here. So basically how this goes, I go through and I do some key statistics that I feel are important, and we compare them to 2024. And then we talk about them a little bit if there's something that needs talked about. But then I have my main news points for the week that we go over. That's pretty much how it goes. I highly encourage people, if you watch my live, to get in the comment section. I do interact in the comment section with people that jump in on the live. And then I also will continually check the podcast in case somebody throws a comment in during the week when they watch the replay. I do like comments unless you're a super lefty liberal, then I don't like them. Just kidding. I still like them. Sometimes the ignorance level is just so high. I can't contain myself. But so I had something really interesting happen to me this week. The comet that fell in Georgia. Okay, so I live in Locust Grove, Georgia. The comet hit in this tiny little area called Blacksville. So Blacksville is like right outside. Well, it's pretty much McDonough. And so McDonough is like 5 miles away from my house. So I was actually outside with my dog, and I heard a big explosion, like right above me. And I was looking, but I couldn't see it because there was a giant canopy of clouds over the top of my house. But I got my phone out and I recorded the sounds. And it sounded like if you were to hear like the space shuttle take off, that's what it sounded like. It was an explosion, like something broke through the sound barrier. And then it sounded like a space shuttle. It was really weird. And I do have the video. I posted it on my Facebook page, but I recorded it for a long time, so it takes up a lot of space. So I didn't put it everywhere because it'd take 20 minutes to download it to everything. But that was pretty interesting. And then like a couple of days ago, I guess we had interruption to our smart TVs here, where like these messages got sent out to our TVs. I can't confirm that because I don't really watch a lot of TV. I do, but I don't. Not enough to where I saw it. I didn't see it, but there's a lot of reports that people saw these messages of like, we're here to help you, like some weird stuff, man. I don't know. And that there's a battle going on up in the galaxy or something. I don't know. But that's some of the stuff that's going on out there. But that meteor was definitely legit. I heard it. I didn't see it, but I heard it. So let's get into the statistics this week. So Doge did update some things. So they're at $190 billion, and that's $1,180.12. On the debt clock, we're at $537 billion, and that comes out to $4,781 per taxpayer. So gas. As you know, with the Iran situation going on, gas did tick up a little bit. But since the ceasefire happened, I would expect it to kind of level back out downward. But either way, we're still below Joe Biden. Joe Biden's average for 2024 was $3.30 a gallon. We are currently, according to AAA, at $3.18 a gallon on average. So a war starts and Trump still has the oil prices under control. It's amazing how it works. Now, here's my big hiccup that I talk about every single week. Mortgage rates. 2024's average was 6.7%. Jerome Powell, the complete moron, we're under 7 finally. He's got 6.88. So Jerome Powell really needs to adjust to what the market's doing. He keeps releasing all these ridiculous reasons why he's not lowering it. And he's just trying to piss off Trump. That's all he's doing. He's playing games with our money. So Trump's approval rating is at 46.6%. He did drop just a little bit. So the Dow Jones, I'm pretty sure the S&P hit a record, the highest all time. I forgot to look at the Dow before I. So the Dow Jones, we're at $43,819.17. So we're almost at that 44,000 mark. Before the tariff started, we were at like right around 45,000. After Trump announced his massive tariff plan, we dropped all the way down to, I think, around 37,000. So we are rebounding, and that's what's made these Wall Street guys come out, and they're starting to say, well, Trump kind of outsmarted us on this whole tariff thing, which is nice that they're finally admitting it. So that's happening, and that's a good thing for us, that the economy is recovering. At least the stock markets are. They go up every week. So Trump is strengthening the investment world of America, while I don't even cover the egg prices no more, because they just about give them away now. And remember when the Democrats were like, "Oh, Trump, you're screwing us over on eggs." Oh, look now, it's like $2 and something a dozen now. I mean, we're back down to like Trump's first term price. It's amazing how a good president can do stuff. So big news this week, the big, beautiful bill. So we're going to get into that a little bit. So the Senate Republicans, they rammed President Trump's big, beautiful bill through a procedural hurdle after hours of tense negotiations that put the mega bill's fate into question. However, so nearly every Republican except Tom Tillis and Rand Paul voted to start Chuck Schumer's reading and debate of the bill. Chuck Schumer's a freaking idiot. I mean, with the margins in the Senate the way they are, the Republicans can't lose 3 votes. 2, and they're still okay. So that's where they were at, and they were able to advance it. So through 51-49 party line vote, it passed on to the next phase where they actually get a vote on it. But Chuck Schumer wants to do a marathon to read every single word in the bill because he's an idiot. Like, these guys haven't had a chance to look at the whole thing. That guy's always trying to waste time. I don't understand it. The guy, he's on TV right now. I can't stand looking at his ugly face with his glasses down on his nose all the time, and he's always like trying to pretend like he's really smart, looking up through his glasses. The guy's an idiot. And then so Ron Johnson from Wisconsin, he was a no vote. He flipped back to yes, probably just to be a little dramatic. He did it at the last second. JD Vance was there because they thought that he was going to have to come in and make the tiebreaker. So that didn't happen. They end up not needing him. What's up, G bro? So I think it came out okay. I think at the end of the day, a lot of the senators were like, okay, well, this is President Trump's mandate. We probably should get this thing passed. So there's like amendments and stuff that they need to do. There's a few things that need to happen yet. So Vance, he was there. He wasn't needed, but he did help out in some of the negotiations, which is good that he's there. That's like a kind of like, hey, you guys remember we have a mandate, So I think that carried some weight in getting some of these guys to vote in the right direction, or at least to get Ron Johnson on board, that was enough to not need Vance for the tiebreaker. So I think they're thinking they're going to get this vote done this week. That's what they're anticipating. So we'll see what happens with that. I would imagine the beautiful bill is going to get voted in this week, and then Trump will sign it probably next week. So next on the agenda, we're going to talk about Alligator Alcatraz. So let's get into that and some of the drama that's behind that. So for those of you who don't know, Governor Ron DeSantis has decided to delegate a certain portion of basically his swamp area down there in the Everglades for a prison for illegal immigrants. So when I first heard it, I was like, nah, they're not doing that. They're just trying to mess with the Democrats. Nope, I was wrong. They're doing it. It's happening. It's almost done. They're saying Tuesday they'll be taking in immigrants. So naturally, in pure leftist fashion, they start their protest. So there's environmentalist protesters out there. Now I can kind of when you look at I can kind of see their point, because the Everglades is a true wildlife area. It's rough terrain. It's very swampy. There's a lot of dangerous things in there that can kill you. So like that's kind of an area you kind of want to just leave alone. But at the same time, we're going to find out why this is going to be okay. So multiple environmental groups filed a federal lawsuit Friday alleging that officials did not evaluate ecologic impacts when conducting Alligator Alcatraz for the illegal immigration detention center near the Everglades and Big Cypress National Preserve. The lawsuit filed by Friends of the Everglades and the Center for Biological Diversity in the Southern District of Florida aimed to pause construction at the federal site, which is being built at the reportedly unoccupied Dade Collier Training and Transition Airport. So this is an airport. There's the land's already there. It's not like DeSantis said, hey, everybody, go in there, knock all those trees down over there, and let's concrete over some swamp and put up our prison. That's not what happened. But that's what the left media is trying to make it look like. That DeSantis is just rolling in there, destroying this natural habitat. But there's already an airport there with structures and buildings and everything. It's just not used anymore. So Department of Homeland Security Assistant Tricia McLaughlin, she says it's a lazy lawsuit and it ignores the fact that this land has already been developed for a decade. So it's just getting reutilized. It's land that's already developed. It's getting reutilized for something that we need. So that's where I see the environmental concern. I understand that. Like I'm all for, like, we do enough developing in this country. There's certain areas of this country that I would like to not see get touched, and the Everglades is one of them. However, this specific site is already being utilized. It already has buildings on it. It's not like they're doing something different or something new. So the 30 square mile property will be home to 5,000 ICE detainees and is going to be guarded by alligators and pythons. Isn't that awesome? Like, yeah, break out if you want. See what happens. It's like a landmine of alligators out there. So the Trump administration announced Tuesday that it had approved the project and crews started working on the transformation Monday. So this isn't going to be like some big, massive prison. It's basically going to be some like tents, and that's it. I mean, there may be a couple structures that get used, but overall, it's going to be tents, kind of like the tent jail out in Arizona. I think that was what Sheriff Arpaia or whatever his name is that did that. Put everybody in pink. So the attorneys allege that the installation of housing units, the construction of sanitation and food service systems, lighting infrastructure, diesel power generators, and the use of runaway to transport detainees pose clear environmental harms. Like I said, I get it, but at the same time, this land, there's already pollution here. I'm not saying that that's a justification, but I am saying that, it's not like they're doing they're just tearing down the Everglades to put this place in. They're just reutilizing land that's already been developed. It's like recycling. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, he told Fox and Friends Friday that illegal immigrants could begin arriving by Tuesday, clarifying no permanent changes would be made. Then he wanted to remind everybody that this is all temporary. We'll set it up, we'll break it down, and this isn't our first rodeo. The impact will be zero. So it sounds like once Tom Homan when they start kind of deteriorating down their the amount of detainees they have to, keep. It sounds like DeSantis is planning on tearing this thing down, getting the tents out of there, because we're not going to have 5,000 illegal immigrants that are violent criminals that are going to be, waiting to be deported. Eventually that number is going to go down, and they're not going to need this 30 square mile facility or land with full alligators. So I would expect it to, maybe last a year, and then maybe 2, then it'll be over with. So let's talk about next Trump's big wins of the week. So President Trump the guy is on a roll right now. Everything he touches turns to conservative gold. So let's go over some of those big wins. So he announced a peace deal between Congo and Rwanda. That's a battle that's been going on a long time. And I've looked into some of the details of this war. And it's basically over. It's over natural resources. So we have Congo and Rwanda fighting a long time. This war is very brutal. This is like one of those machete wars where people are getting hacked up and all that. Now they're going through all the Iranian terrorists that they arrested over the weekend. Good job, Tom Homan. Tom Homan's really pretty damn good at his job. I'll tell you that. I love the guy. He don't play. He's going to go in there and get it done. But anyway, so he's made that peace deal. Then he brokered the peace deal. This wasn't this week, but it was a few weeks ago. But he brokered the peace deal between Pakistan and India. That was big because those are two countries that can really do some damage to each other. And Trump jumped in there real quick and said, hey, I'm not going to do business with either one of you if y'all start warring. And then that's when both of them are like, okay, we won't. And so that's when the Pakistani president is nominated President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. So he's got 2 wars he stopped. And then we have Iran and Israel are in a ceasefire. So this dude has done nothing but stop problems in the last few weeks. And he's also got his Supreme Court wins. So let's talk about some of those. So the court ruled that individual judges do not have the authority to grant nationwide injunctions, blocking lower court judges from making sweeping rulings that affect the entire country. This decision is significant for the Trump administration, specifically regarding its efforts to restrict birthright citizenship. This is big because, as President Trump has been stating for weeks now, that these district court judges have been running around trying to undermine the presidency outside of their rulings jurisdiction. A district judge can't make rulings for the country. That's not how the judicial system works. No matter how red or how blue the Democrats paint this, you can't do it. These judges were out of line, and the Supreme Court finally made a ruling and said, yep, they're out of line. They can't do that. Especially when it comes to wartime decisions. That's not a Supreme Court's jurisdiction at all. I did not vote for a judge that to oversee how we do wars. I would vote for a judge to oversee court hearings because that's what they're supposed to do. So for a judge to jump in there and try to manipulate, federal immigration law or war powers, they're in the wrong for that. That's immigration laws is a Congress and Supreme Court issue, and you can't touch the president's wartime powers. Congress can complain about it like they have been, but then they're going to find out, just like they did, that President Trump actually didn't go to war. He just did a mission. It was a one-day mission, a few-hour mission, and mission accomplished. And the left lost their mind. Or he can't declare war on. No, did anybody hear Trump say, "I declare war on Iran"? He didn't say that. He did say the other day, he said, if they don't get it together, I'll bomb them again. And that's not a war declaration. That's just saying, follow the rules or I'm going to blow something up. He's not saying we're going to put boots on the ground and we're going to send our Air Force over there. We're going to start strategically taking out all your targets. And that's not what he's doing. He's just got rid of the nuclear stuff. You know, whether or not Iran moved their nuclear material, the facilities that they need to operate those nuclear capabilities is no longer there. So they are set back, whether or not they moved the nuclear material or not, whether it doesn't matter. Iran is set back. They're going to be set back. Their facilities are trash. You know, it's not like a cell phone where you can just plug your cord into the wall and now your phone works again. That's not how nukes work. You need to have reactors and all this stuff. I'm not a nuclear expert, but there's a lot of this, what I've read about it. There's a lot of stuff that has to happen. And Trump took it out. So, also, the justices favored Maryland parents who objected on religious grounds to having their children exposed to LGBTQ themed storybooks in public school classes. The ruling indicated that schools likely could not require students to participate in such lessons if their parents had religious objections. I think that's a fair ruling. I think if a parent says, hey, if you guys absolutely are going to ram this shit down our kids' throats, my kid needs to be able to opt out. So now that's the case, if something gets too risque, the parents can pull the kids out of that curriculum and raise a stink about that, as they should. So those are big wins. Trump had a really big week this week, and I don't think a lot of people understand that, how big of a week he had. Everything he did was a big deal. Oh, wow. Somebody shooting at firefighters in Idaho. Cool. I've noticed that anything that's named after something French is generally a huge disappointment. Man, I'm sorry for all you French people that watch my show, but every time it's something French that I gotta over enunciate, it's usually something bad. Next, New York City mayor Democrat candidate. We're going to talk about this turd. So this guy was basically an unknown until just recently. I never heard of him. Like, I don't know where he came from, who started funding this guy. I'm going to look into it. I have some theories as to where his funding comes from, but I'm not going to speak on it until I know for sure. But Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani propelled himself to a stunning upset victory in New York City's Democrat primary after running on a platform that included a laundry list of far-left agenda items, including government spending, tax hikes on corporations and the wealthy, and a slew of other policies that even some Democrats are like, this dude's a little too radical. But he won the primary, so we'll talk about who he beat and who he's got to go up against next. So one of his campaign promises, he vows to redirect tax funds away from subsidies to private grocery chains to create a network of city-owned grocery stores, which he says will be focused on keeping prices low, not making a profit. Good luck with that. He's going to have a tough time dealing with some of these importers and exporters and all these people that deal in the grocery markets. They're not going to like that if you try to take away their profit margins. And by the way, that's how capitalism works. Companies make money. And to just cut that off as a mayor of a city, for one, you don't have that power to do that anyway. But, you know, keep dreaming if you want. So this dude made a TikTok video. Like, what adult makes TikTok videos? Oh, that's right, I do. In a TikTok video, Mamdani said that his city-run grocery stores will operate without a profit motive. This is so anti democracy. It's so anti-republic. It's so it's anti-everything American. Just, the government now owns the grocery stores. You will now eat out of our hands. What does that sound like? Sounds like Cuba to me. He said he's doing it so they can focus on feeding people instead of price gouging, as he alleges that some private stores do. Well, apparently, he just doesn't understand how markets fluctuate. He claimed that without having to pay rent or property taxes, these city-run stores will buy and sell at wholesale prices, centralized warehousing and distribution, and be able to offer New York residents lower prices than privately owned stores in the city. So let's explain that in layman's terms. He wants New York taxpayers to pay for these grocery stores. And so where's that taxpayer money going to come from? Oh, he's going to have to raise taxes to afford it, because there's a lot of freaking people in New York, in the state of New York, and in the city of New York. I think we're at 12 million people in New York. Yeah, so your taxes are going to go freaking through the roof. And on top of that, it is going to make people dependent upon the mayor's office, because if certain aspects of the markets aren't right, hello, Jenny Lynn. But New York's mayor is going to have to compensate these things. He's going to have to find ways to get them. He's going to have to it's going to be hard to deal with when you're anti-capitalism. It's going to be hard for you to deal with the global market that is pro-capitalism. So this is going to be a struggle for New York. Another central tenet of Mamdani's campaign has been his vow to crack down on bad landlords by having the city take control of properties when a landlord refuses to make repairs or demonstrates consistent neglect of their tenants. He also believes he can fix New York City's affordable housing crisis by immediately freezing the rents of over 2 million New York residents who live in rent-stabilized apartments. So once again, who's going to pay for that? The New York City taxpayers. So not only are you going to be paying the tax to feed all these grocery stores, you're also going to be paying taxes on rental properties. So you're going to be funding every single welfare case in New York. Every single one. Way more than what you ever have. So to address the city's safety crisis, Mamdani has said he will create a new government agency called the Department of Community Safety that he says will utilize evidence-based strategies that prevent violence and crime before they occur. Well, isn't that interesting? It's like a group of people that's going to come out and go, will you please not shoot that person today? Hey, do you think maybe you can stop raping women tomorrow? Don't do any tomorrow. Come on, man. This is a disaster. New York's in for a disaster. Y'all better vote for Eric Adams, because if this guy becomes mayor, you guys are going to be in big trouble. Among the new agency's top priorities, Mamdani said that they're going to be able to expand gun violence programs, address hate, and tackle homelessness. The agency would also deploy mental health workers to subways and trouble spots, which he said will make us all safer. You're going to be safer in the subway because the psychiatrist is there. That's going to somehow talk the crackhead out of shooting you. Good luck with that. I see a lot of dead psychiatrists. That's what I see. This guy's an idiot, complete idiot. He has also pledged to institute universal free childcare for children's age 6 weeks to 5 years. So let's just keep adding it to your tax bill. Now we're doing free childcare. Then we're doing a whole fleet of city bought mental health workers. That's not going to be cheap. Other priorities includes his pledge to champion a law to raise the minimum wage in New York City to $30 an hour by 2030. 2030? What is that number? Oh, that's right. That's the number that the World Economic Forum set to get their sustainable development goals done by. So there you go. 2030, that is a straight progressive socialist communist date that they want to get all this craziness done by. So that's a red flag to me that he's on board with all of the shittiest people in the world. And then he wants to be expanding the funding for hate violence prevention programs by 800%. So that means immigrants are going to be able to do whatever they want. People who hate America can do whatever they want, and there's going to be no repercussions for them. So here get ready, New York. Y'all better vote for Eric Adams. And I'm going to tell you why I need you to. Another major tenet of Mamdani's platform is he wants to Trump-proof New York, which means he's going to kick all of the ICE agents out of New York, get rid of all their offices, which he can't do. He doesn't have the power to do that, but he thinks he can. And if he tries to, he's going to go to jail. His website further states that as mayor, Mamdani will make New York City an LGBTQ sanctuary city and protect reproductive rights. Wait a minute. I thought they didn't like reproductive rights. Is he for? I don't know. This is confusing. All these like stances they have, they don't make sense to me. So yeah, so there you go. If you feel like you're being oppressed by your state, just move to New York. They'll take care of you. They'll cater to all the things that hurt your feelings. During his campaign, Mamdani attempted to justify the use of the phrase globalize the Antifada. There we go. We're going to globalize the Antifada now. That sounds like a great plan. Just more violence and hate speech coming from a radical. And they wonder why all this stuff keeps happening. It ain't Trump's fault. It's these radical idiots that are constantly throwing slogans like that out there that cause violence. What I just see, there's some big concert in New York where some musician gets up there and gets the whole crowd chanting, like kill the IDF or something. Like you wonder why. Like the left is the most violent people on the planet right now. They want to see people burning everything in the streets, and most of these lefties keep falling for it. Like y'all going to go to jail. He previously called to defund the New York City Police Department, though he has since retracted that statement, and he said police have a critical role to play in his plan. But following the death of George Floyd, I went and looked at this guy's tweets. So he said that he did not want to reform the police. We want to defund the police. In another tweet that he did, he said, we don't need an investigation to know that the NYPD is racist, anti-queer, and a major threat to public safety. What we need to do is defund the NYPD. No to fake cuts and defund the police. This is what you're voting for, New York. You're going to get what you voted for. I'm going to tell you that with this guy. You're going to be looking for somebody's going to break into your apartment. You're going to be trying to call a cop, and no cops are going to be there. They'll send a mental health worker to talk them down. In November of 2020, Mamdani again tweeted, queer liberation means defund the police. I guess if you get rid of the cops, the gay people will be happier. So maybe, I don't know. He then went on to tweet, he said, as socialists, we believe people should not have to endure violence and coercion of a criminal legal system that props up the exploitation of the market by surveilling, caging, and killing those fighting to survive under capitalism. We can abolish that system. He's going to try it. He's going to try it. He called on the New York State Assembly to fight the construction of any new prisons. Instead, invest those funds in communities that have been impacted by mass incarceration. So let everybody out of prison, but we're going to find some programs that are going to stop these people from committing crimes. Good luck with that. So in 2021, he said, our prison system relies on dehumanization and brutality. So the goal must be to abolish this exploitive system entirely. Does he not understand that people who go to prison generally are there because they've committed a crime? And when you commit a crime, you forfeit your right to freedom until your sentence is completed. It's called accountability and punishment for your actions. But I forgot, the left doesn't believe in accountability. So there we go. New York, you're going to get what you vote for. He also called to abolish private healthcare insurance. He said, this is no time to put the ideology of capitalism above helping people who are in the greatest need. So there you go. He wants to somehow manage to create a healthcare system for New Yorkers on your tax dollar. You see where I'm going with this? The New York's about to get stroked on taxes. In addition to calling for less policing and less incarceration, in 2022, he tweeted, we need to ban all guns. So there you go. You're going to have a bunch of crime, no way to defend yourself. Good luck. Good luck. He also called for legislation to decriminalize sex work. He wants to permit safe injection sites for people who use drugs and refranchise convicts and end all cooperation with ICE. So let's go through this because he's put several things in this. So let's go to re-enfranchise convicts. There's an issue with that because employers don't like to hire felons. So when you're coming out of prison and you haven't been out of prison very long, 99.999% of jobs are not going to give you a job because you haven't been out in society long enough to prove that you can be a productive member of society. So this is where the hiccup is. This is why recidivism is high because these guys come out of prison, they can't get jobs, so they go hustle, and then they get arrested and they go right back to prison. So this master plan is put together by somebody who doesn't understand how crime works and how criminals do things and how they want to get on a good path, but society doesn't let them because nobody gives felons a chance to do anything. So this is somebody who doesn't understand the criminal justice system at all. It's more complicated than just saying, well, we'll just re-enfranchise them. It's not going to work like that. Injection sites, guess what? It's enabling crackheads to be everywhere. It's enabling heroin users and fentanyl users and meth heads. You're going to see more drug addicts on the streets than anywhere in America. You're going to beat California. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. His plan is horrid. I don't know how he beat Cuomo. They should have ran anybody except Cuomo against this guy, and he would have done better. So following Mamdani's victory over Cuomo on Tuesday night, many are now expressing alarm that his policy proposals could come to fruition if he is unable to unseat the sitting mayor, Eric Adams, who is running for re-election as an independent. Because Eric Adams got attacked by the left, so he said, screw you guys, I'm getting out of the Democrat Party. I'm just going to be independent. Which Eric Adams, he's at least talking with a lot of sense lately. And he has been probably for about a year now. I think he realized that his friends weren't really his friends, and they threw him under the bus. In a post on X, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, who's a representative out of New York, she's widely rumored to be planning a GOP gubernatorial run in New York in 2026, calling on Mamdani a radical, defund the police, communist, raging anti-Semite. She blames Mamdani's rise on New York Democratic governor. She basically is blaming Kathy Hochul, who the conservatives are going to make Kathy own this if he gets in there and he destroys New York, which he's going to. Mike Lawler, representative from New York, he also chimed in, calling Mamdani a radical anti-Semitic socialist, predicting that an exodus begin from New York City as Zohran Mamdani runs it into the ground. Now, that's where I'm going to add, because his failure is going to have a direct result on where I live. This isn't going to be just a New York problem. This is going to be a everybody south of New York problem, because when these people get overtaxed, when they don't feel safe, they're going to leave New York, and they always come down here south to Georgia. They go to Kentucky, they go to Tennessee, they go to Virginia, they go anywhere but New York. So thank you, New Yorkers, for allowing a socialist communist to be able to run for governor or for mayor of New York. You're going to drive everybody out of New York and into my backyard. And we got enough New Yorkers down here. And the crime comes from the New Yorkers. They just did a study here in Georgia not too long ago. Mamdani received praise and congratulations from several big-name people, national politicians such as, of course, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, and Ilhan Omar. There you go. That's the people who support this guy, the biggest idiots in Congress. Cortez said that Mamdani's dedication to an affordable, welcoming, and safe New York City where working families can have a shot has inspired people across the city. Of course, we just recently found out that AOC is not from the Bronx. She's from the suburbs, from a rich area. She's been lying to us this whole time, trying to pretend like she's this hardened Puerto Rican Bronx girl. She ain't even from the Bronx. She's a hoax like every other Democrat. Everything's just a stage. It's a theater. Representative Ilhan Omar, who's also known for controversial statements about Israel and America, congratulated Mamdani as well. Thank you, New York City, for not letting the bigots and corrupt billionaires prevail. And Alhamdulillah, which I heavily butchered that. I'm sorry, any of you Muslims out there. I can't read. But it means praise to Allah. So there you go with Ilhan Omar. So Adams commented, he said, what New York City deserves is a mayor who's proud to run on his record, not one who ran from his record or one who has no record. We deserve a mayor who will keep driving down crime, support our police, fight anti-Semitism, and stand up for working class New Yorkers. Now, that sounds so solid. Like, that's a comment that I would want my mayor candidate to say. Hey, we're going to keep crime down. And we're going to hold people accountable for being idiots. That's what you're supposed to do as mayor, not change the whole dynamic of the city and enable every bad habit that people have. Mayor Adams says time to unite. He says time to fight. We have a city to save. So I hope he gets it. I'm not opposed. Mayor Eric Adams is decent. He's not the worst mayor New York's ever had. That was probably Bill de Blasio. He was an idiot. He's still an idiot. He's supporting this Mamdani guy. So I've been working on something on TikTok, and that's going to cover the rest of the show. So I'm on like my 6th video of covering Kentucky's corruption, specifically based around their governor, Andy Beshear, who his dad was governor a few governors ago, and he was corrupt as well. And I touched a little bit on that. I just did like a Macho Man or Andy Savage thing right there. I've been watching old WWE videos. So one of the topics that I was researching today that I'm going to share with you, if you want to watch the rest of them, get on my TikTok and watch them. Because I've made so many, I can easily prove this guy's corrupt. So Governor Andy Beshear just recently went to Europe. Well, why did he go to Europe, might you ask? He went to the World Economic Forum to represent all the communists that are there. He took the stage and he met with Spanish business leaders, and he did this open forum. But before that, he's taken on some slack because he budgeted $81,000 of a full vacation, $81,000 for the week to go to Switzerland, to Davos. So some of the Kentucky reps are kind of getting a little upset about that. TJ Roberts was one of the big ones. He posted travel records of the governor's late January trip that he'd obtained via open records request. So he had a FOIA to get those because they're trying to hide it from everybody, but he got it. So at the World Economic Forum, he was on a 2-person panel with Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Why would Sarah Huckabee Sanders be at the World Economic Forum back in January? So you're on my list, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Not that kind of list. She's on my I might audit you pretty soon list. Sheesh, I got to be careful. These people twist my words. Get knocked on the door by the Secret Service or something. So Andy Beshear at the World Economic Forum, he said, my belief, and we probably have slightly different ones, on why President Trump is president again, is that last group of movable voters had a gut check, and they believe that President Trump would make it a little easier to pay the bills at the end of the month. So do these policies raise prices, lower prices? I think that's a lot of what to watch as we move forward, which that was in January. So he's already been debunked. Andy Beshear has already been proven to be a complete moron, which he warned that Trump's plans could backfire, which they didn't. They worked out masterfully. Beshear also went on to say, he said, these threatened tariffs aren't about trade imbalance. They're about leverage. Why? Because President Trump has been very clear that they're about leverage. Oh, well, no shit. That's how you negotiate. Whoever's got leverage. If somebody really wants something, you can play the price game a little bit with them because they're going to pay it because they got to have it. But the impacts could go right to the reasons that he was elected and could have some significant impact on that very quickly, which we all know now that the tariffs turned out to be a good thing. The threat of the tariffs, we're at almost 44,000 on the Dow Jones. That the economy is improved. It took them less than a year to do it. So Beshear also argued against efforts to root out sustainability or diversity policies within businesses if private sector players want those policies in place. So you can't make a private business not do sustainable development goals. That's what Andy Beshear is talking about here. He's talking about sustainability and diversity because the World Economic Forum invented the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Because what it is, it's a push to make the world turn socialist. And if you read my book, The Swiss Effect, it tells you exactly how they're going to plan on doing it. I mapped it all out. I did all the research and did it. And so I already know this game. I know what Beshear's doing here. He's kissing ass to the people who made the program. And so he can say, hey guys, I'm still on board here in Kentucky. We're going to keep our people oppressed, which when you think about it, after I talked to a whistleblower from Kentucky, is that's suing Kentucky over some certain things right now, that Kentucky has the 8th largest incarceration rate in the United States. Why? Well, because if everybody has a criminal record, it's going to be really easy to control everybody. You'll know where everybody's at. And this, if you look at this, the makeup of what Andy Beshear is doing in Kentucky, he's playing the socialist playbook, and he's tricked everybody in the big cities. Now, they have six state reps in Kentucky. 5 of them are Republicans. 1 is a Democrat. So how does a Democrat become governor? When you look at that balance, that's a 5 to 1 ratio. So how did Andy Beshear become governor? Well, he made a bunch of promises to the teachers union and said, hey, I'm going to make sure you guys get taken care of better than you've ever been taken care of before. I'm going to give you all the resources you need to be a teacher, which Kentucky's education system ranks 32nd in the United States. So those teachers or the teachers unions are already failing Kentucky. So why are we rewarding a teachers union that is failing the students and the kids in Kentucky? Because Andy Beshear needs votes. So he'll sell his soul no matter what and trick people. You know what those teachers got as a result for their votes? Jack shit. They didn't get nothing. I've been hearing it all week on TikTok, how they were made promises and Andy Beshear didn't do them. And now he's going to lose those votes, but it doesn't matter because he's termed out after this time. But I'm making a big deal about it because Andy Beshear is going to try to run for president against J.D. Vance. I already know it's either going to be him as vice president and Shapiro as president, or vice versa. Those two will be partnered together to run against J.D. Vance and hopefully Byron Donald, and that'll be the battle. Now, why is Andy Beshear doing this? I think he's doing it because he's trying to drive up his surplus. Kentucky does have a little bit of a surplus, but he's pinching all of these sectors and trying to make everybody monopolize to the state. And that's what I was talking to the whistleblower about. She's a doctor, and she's in the surgical, like, permanent makeup industry. So the state is, and she's a private business owner, or she's trying to be. And so she's being attacked by the state left and right because they don't want privatized business in certain sectors. Well, she's trying to start a school to teach people, a private school, a trade school, to help these people. And she's from Eastern Kentucky, where there's not really a lot of jobs and not really a lot of opportunity out there. They have a high drug rate, a high incarceration rate, because there's not enough jobs for the people out there. So they sell dope. They do dope. That's all they do. So she's trying to do something to give people more jobs. Come to my trade school, learn how to do hair, learn how to do makeup, learn how to do nails, learn how to do all these things, so you'll stop going to jail. So, but the state of Kentucky keeps attacking her and making her jump through hoops. Like, she has more regulations on her business than medical doctors do. It's insane. After she kind of mapped this out for him, like, why are they going after this sector? Like, who cares about the beauty section? Well, they're trying to make every sector move away from privatizing, so they can monopolize the markets in every sector in Kentucky, which will drive up Kentucky's their margins. They're turning Kentucky into a business, a very profitable business. So, I mean, we have that here in Georgia too. We have a surplus here in Georgia. I don't remember. It's like a few $1 billion. But what Kemp does is he, every once in a while, he'll go, yeah, we got a big surplus going right now. Cut everybody. Every taxpayer is going to get $500. He does that all the time. I've seen him do it 3 times in the last couple years. Here, we got a surplus. Everybody have $500. And like, Kentucky could do that. but he's trying to run for something. So he's going to get up on TV and go, I built Kentucky surplus up from blah, 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 negative, blah, blah, blah to $1 billion. I know how to do the economy. Now, what he did was he ran the coal business out the door and the mining business out the door. So everybody on Eastern Kentucky doesn't have a freaking job. And because of sustainable energy, but he didn't put nothing over there for people to go have jobs to do. There's nothing to do over there. Very little jobs in Eastern Kentucky because stupid Andy Beshear and his communist dad ran all the coal jobs out of Kentucky over time. There you go. Department of Justice, Pam Bondi, where are you at? These guys, Andy Beshear's, in my investigation, I've got at least 8 felonies that this guy's committed. He's got voter fraud. Like, this guy is a walking felon. He extorts people. This guy's nuts. And nobody does anything because the good old boy system in Kentucky is all patting each other on the back. Republicans and Democrats, those guys are all on the same team. Then I tried to look at Andy Beshear's investments, what he invests his money in. Nothing. Oh, we don't know the specifics. That's the records I got. There's no specifics in his private investments that he's supposed to submit when he runs for office. Kentucky has so many dirty politicians. It's insane. And it's a trap. My videos are attracting attention. I've got like over 170,000 views in the last week just on Andy Beshear's stuff. So that's becoming a big thing. I'm sure somebody's noticed by now. And don't go to London, Kentucky. That's the most corrupt town in Kentucky. I'm going to tell you that. There's 2 organized crime groups in this town of like 8,000 people, and they are at war. I'm not going there. I'm not going to London. I want to go to London because I want to interview people, but I'll end up in the line of fire there. That is a dirty town. Sad part is I got to drive past it when I go home. Like literally, I drive right past it. So hopefully I'll be able to go undetected. Their crooked state highway patrolmen won't get me. Yeah, Kentucky State Highway Patrol is crooked too. I got tons of stories on them. They like to do search warrants without search warrants. Also, so Andy Beshear's running a racket with the cannabis industries. So they legalized being able, like how Ohio is, and I know we're not quite there, I think, in Georgia. I'm not sure. I know what they were talking about. I don't know what our cannabis laws are here. But in Ohio, you can cultivate and produce and dispense cannabis. It's legal in Ohio. They passed it in Kentucky. You can do it. However, they did a lottery, and the lottery was supposed to be random. They issued 26 permits. 19 of the 26 permits randomly went to companies outside of Kentucky. So instead of taking care of the agricultural industry of the people of Kentucky, you subleased it out to contracts to people not from Kentucky. So that's something. There's a pay-to-play scheme involved there. I'll guarantee it. But the problem is Kentucky's really good at covering up all the money that they do. So Kentucky's going to make a lot of money off of that from outside influencers, which will come in and they'll start throwing money around to all the Democrats that run for office. That's how they do these things. The businesses come in, and Andy Beshear benefits from their business being in Kentucky he probably is getting a kickback. I'm not for sure. It's a theory, but he's definitely getting donations for other Democrats, and he's probably, working himself up for another run at some other political, probably president. So he's collecting donations and promises of donations right now. So the local farmers are mad because they're missing out on that agricultural opportunity. Kentucky has good farming land. It's almost similar to where I'm from in Ohio, where there's rich nitrogen in there that makes it really easy to grow stuff. They do have the red clay there, but they've got good farmland too. So this guy's a bad governor. And what I'm being told is he's really good at talking on TV. That's what he sold people on an ideal that he never delivered on. And then on top of that, when you dig into all the things that he's corrupt, Churchill Downs is a big donor to him. And they're not exactly the most clean organization in Kentucky, if you know what I mean. So that's pretty much the show for today. Thanks everybody who tuned in. It looked like we had a lot of hits today, so I appreciate y'all. I'm going to try to be back on Wednesday. I try to do Wednesdays too, but lately I've been traveling for work, so hopefully I'll be able to do Wednesday. So we'll see what happens. Everybody be careful out there. Times are weird. Things are really weird right now, and keep your eyes in the sky. You never know what you're going to look at. I'm out. Peace.